Hello children, I am Sunil Kumar Pandey, your English teacher from Cambridge International School, Dasua. In this video, I am going to discuss with you chapter 6th of your textbook Flamingo, Poets and Pancakes by Ashok Mitran. As we saw in the previous video, this chapter is a recollection of the writer's memories of the days when he worked in the Gemini Studios, Madras, present-day Chennai. In the first part, he told us about Pancake, the makeup material brand used in the Gemini Studios. Then he told us about the makeup department of the Gemini Studios. He told us about the stories of its having been associated with Robert Clive. He told us about the looks of the department. He told us about the process of makeup in the department, which was rather tortuous for the actors and actresses. He also told us about different workers in the department who came from almost all parts of the country and belonged to almost all religions of the country, presenting a picture of national integration. Then he also told us about the lowest level worker of the makeup department, who was known as the office boy. This man had come to the studios with very high ambitions, but was reduced to a lowly status and so was very frustrated. Then towards the end of this part, the writer told us that his job involved reading a lot of newspapers and magazines, and he sat in a transparent glass cubicle. So he was visible to all, and everybody thought that he was doing nothing, only reading newspapers and magazines. And whenever they found time, whenever they were free, they would not hesitate in coming into his room and telling all kinds of their stories to him. And this was done especially by this office boy. And his stories were so irritating for the writer that soon he began praying for crowd shooting all the time, which would keep the office boy busy and save him from his stories. Now we come to paragraph 5th. In paragraph 5th, the writer gives us a pen picture of a very prominent man in the Gemini Studios, the number 2 man in the Gemini Studios, Kothamangalam Subbu. Now, how does he arrive at Kothamangalam Subbu? In all instances of frustration, you will always find the anger directed towards a single person, openly or covertly, and this man of the makeup department was convinced that all his woes, ignominy and neglect were due to Kothamangalam Subbu. That frustrated office boy always blamed Kothamangalam Subbu for all his failures. Why? Before that, the writer tells us about Subbu. Subbu was the number 2 at Gemini Studios, and in the next few lines, he compares the beginning of the career of Kothamangalam Subbu and that office boy. He couldn't have had a more encouraging opening in films than our grown-up makeup boy had. That means both had almost similar beginnings. On the contrary, he must have had to face more uncertain and difficult times, for when he began his career, there were no firmly established film producing companies or studios. So the writer believes that actually Subbu faced more disadvantages in the beginning of his career than the makeup man, the office boy. Even in the matter of education, especially formal education, Subbu couldn't have had an appreciable lead over our boy. That means their educational backgrounds were also almost similar. But by virtue of being born a Brahmin, a virtue indeed, he must have had exposure to more affluent situations and people. In spite of all this, in spite of their similar beginnings, the office boy used to say that since Subbu was a Brahmin, so he must have had more opportunities than him, which the writer does not believe and dismisses with his humorous remark, a virtue indeed. Now, in the next very long paragraph, the writer describes the abilities of Kothamangalam Subbu. Obviously, the writer is full of praise for him. He had the ability to look cheerful at all times, even after having had a hand in a flop film. That means he was of a cheerful and positive attitude. He always had work for somebody. He could never do things on his own. That means he never took credit for everything himself and never tried to do everything himself. He always delegated work to everybody. But his sense of loyalty made him identify himself with his principal completely and turn his entire creativity to his principal's advantage. His principal was the chief of the Gemini Studios, Mr. S.S. Vasan. He was very, very loyal to Mr. Vasan, so devoted all his services with all his heart, all his abilities to Mr. Vasan. And this sometimes made him look like a sycophant, a yes man, as well, as the writer tells us later. But before that, his abilities in filmmaking. He was tailor-made for films, very, very suitable for films. Here was a man who could be inspired when commanded. Commanded means ordered. When people are ordered by their bosses, they carry out the order because of their sense of duty. However, Subbu, when ordered by his boss, carried it out with motivation, with inspiration, not just because it was his duty. He was such enthusiastic worker. And some humorous description of his abilities. The rat fights the tigress underwater and kills her, but takes pity on the cubs and tends them lovingly. I don't know how to do the scene, the producer would say, and Subbu would come out with 4 ways of the rat pouring affection on its victim's offspring. What does this mean? Obviously, a rat cannot fight a tigress, that too underwater, and after that cannot take pity on the tigress's cubs. This is an impossible situation given humorously by the writer. But even if such an impossible situation was given to Subbu by the director or producer of the film, Subbu would have not just 1 but 4 ways of filming it. And after that, good, but I'm not sure it is effective enough, the producer would say, and in a minute Subbu would come out with 14 more alternatives. And even if those 4 ways were not found satisfactory by the producer, Subbu had the ability to suggest 14 more. That means this whole part points at his superb creativity in filmmaking industry. Filmmaking must have been and was so easy with a man like Subbu around. And if ever there was a man who gave direction and definition to Gemini Studios during its golden years, it was Subbu. So unlike that office boy, the writer is full of high praise for Mr. Subbu. And apart from his filmmaking abilities, the writer now describes his other good qualities. Subbu had a separate identity as a poet, and though he was certainly capable of more complex and higher forms, he deliberately chose to to address his poetry to the masses. So Subbu was also a poet, a Tamil poet of a supreme order, and though he was very well versed with complex language, yet he wrote his poetry in simple language for the masses. His success in films overshadowed and dwarfed his literary achievements, or so his critics felt. Yet, since even though he was a very good poet, his abilities in poetry were not so highlighted because of his success in films. He composed several truly original story poems in folk refrain and diction. Folk refrain and diction means in the style of folk songs. And also wrote a sprawling novel, a big novel, Thillana Mohanambal, which is obviously a Tamil novel, with dozens of very deftly etched characters and deftly, skillfully etched, carved, created. Novel had dozens of very skillfully created characters. He quite successfully recreated the mood and manner of Devdasis of the early 20th century. The Devdasis were maidens devoted to the service of the Lord of the ancient temples in South India, and the subject of this novel were these Devdasis, and Mr. Subbu very successfully recreated the mood and manners of these Devdasis in his novel. Apart from being a good poet and novelist, he was also an amazing actor. He never aspired to the lead roles, but whatever subsidiary role he played in any of the films, he performed better than the supposed main players. He never aspired to be a hero, but even in character roles, he acted so superbly that he often overshadowed the heroes. He had a genuine love for his personal qualities. He had a genuine love for anyone he came across, and his house was a permanent residence for dozens of near and far relations and acquaintances. So he was a very kind and generous man also, and always hosted several people in his house and fed them. It seemed against Subbu's nature to be even conscious that he was feeding and supporting so many of them, and in spite of doing so much for them, leave alone being proud, Subbu was not even conscious that he was doing such kind things for others. That means he was very, very humble as well. Such a charitable and improvident man. Improvident means the one who is not very careful about his money, rather generous. So such a charitable and generous man, and yet he had enemies. Who were the enemies? That office boy who blamed him for all his failures. Was it because he seemed so close and intimate with the boss? Or was it his general demeanor, general manners that resembled a sycophant's, that resembled the manners of a yes man? Or his readiness to say nice things about everything? So the writer here speculates what were the reasons. Why was that man, the office boy, so against such a good man like Subbu? In any case, there was this man in the makeup department who would wish the direst things for Subbu, direst, the worst things for Subbu. So in this very long paragraph, the writer principally described the number 2 man in the Gemini Studios, Kothamangalam Subbu. He described his amazing talent in filmmaking, in literature, and his personal qualities, and wondered that even though he had such good qualities, some people like that office boy could be jealous of him as well. The next paragraph is again a long paragraph, and this paragraph is also about one man. But this man now is a lawyer. Unlike Subbu, who was portrayed in very good light, this man, the lawyer, has not been portrayed in such good light. Let's read about him. You saw Subbu always with the boss. But in the attendance rolls, he was grouped under a department called the story department. So Subbu was the member of the story department, comprising a lawyer and an assembly of writers and poets. And apart from writers and poets, this story department also had a lawyer. The lawyer was also officially known as the legal advisor, but everybody referred to him as the opposite. The official designation of the lawyer was legal advisor, but behind his back, almost everyone called him the opposite, means the illegal advisor. Why? There was one reason behind this. The writer now describes that reason. An extremely talented actress who was also extremely temperamental. Temperamental means one who becomes angry very easily. Once blew over on the sets. Blew over means suddenly became very angry and said a lot of things, unpleasant things about the producer of the film. While everyone stood stunned, the lawyer quietly switched on the recording equipment. While everybody was astonishingly just listening to her rantings, this lawyer played a trick. He quietly switched on the recording equipment and all the rantings of this actress were recorded. When the actress paused for breath, the lawyer said to her, "1 minute please," and played back the recording to her. There was nothing incriminating or unmentionably foul about the actress's tirade against the producer, tirade, all her angry sayings. So, even though all those things were said in anger, there was nothing particularly offensive. In spite of that, when she heard her voice again through the sound equipment, she was struck dumb. She was frightened. A girl from the countryside, she hadn't gone through all the stages of worldly experience that generally precede a position of importance and sophistication that she had found herself catapulted into. Catapulted into means suddenly thrown into. The girl was from rural background and had suddenly become famous, had suddenly come into a position of prominence at a young age. So she was not mature enough to understand things. That's why she never quite recovered from the terror she felt that day, and that was the end of a brief and brilliant acting career. She was so scared that she left the studios altogether, did not come back, and probably left that film also. The legal advisor, who was also a member of the story department, had unwittingly, means unintentionally, brought about that sad end. In this way, that legal advisor was responsible for bringing to an end the promising career of that actress, and this is why he was not liked by people, and behind his back he was called illegal advisor. And apart from that also, the legal advisor or the lawyer was different from others. While every other member of the department wore a kind of uniform, not really uniform but a kind of uniform, khadi dhoti with a slightly oversized and clumsily tailored white khadi shirt. Those were the days of early days of independence, or probably before independence. Gandhian philosophy was popular, and khadi had also been made popular by Mahatma Gandhi, and almost all the members of the story department who were writers and poets wore these khadi clothes, but not the lawyer. The legal advisor wore pants and a tie and sometimes a coat that looked like a coat of mail, Coat of mail means an armor made of iron which the warriors wear when they fight wars. So because of these reasons, often he looked alone and helpless. He was not able to mix with other people in the story department. A man of cold logic in a crowd of dreamers. Who were the crowd of dreamers? Other members of the story department, because they were writers and poets, and the legal advisor, the lawyer, stood out from them because he was a man of cold logic. He was not a dreamer like poets and writers. A neutral man in an assembly of Gandhiites and Khadiites, while all other members of the story department and probably the studio as well supported Gandhian philosophy, supported national movement. His political views were also neutral. So he was an odd man out in the department. That was also a reason he was not liked by others. Like so many of those who were close to the boss, he was allowed to produce a film. The chief of the studio gave him opportunity to produce a film as well. And though a lot of raw stock and pancake were used on it, not much came of the film. Even though the film was made with much fanfare, it did not succeed. It flopped. Then one day the boss closed down the story department, and this was perhaps the only instance in all human history where a lawyer lost his job because the poets were asked to go home. So one day the chief of the studios, the boss, closed the story department. He thought it was no longer required, and since the lawyer was part of the story department, he also lost his job. And this has been humorously described by the writer by saying that this was perhaps the only instance in all human history where a lawyer lost his job because the poets were asked to go home. The poets were part of the story department. Story department was closed. Lawyer also lost his job because he was also clubbed with them in the story department. So in these two very, very long paragraphs, the writer principally told us about two people. One, Mr. Kothamangalam Subbu, a highly admirable man, and the other, a lawyer, not so admirable a man. The remaining part of the story we will discuss in the subsequent videos. Thank you.